What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to our new Rider sub-series brought to you by Yamaha. And in this particular series, we're going to focus on something that I am most definitely not an expert in.
The master has become the apprentice. We're talking about dirt today. In this series, we're going to cover the whole range of off-road motorcycles. We're going to get into the gear to help keep you safe while you're riding these motorcycles, some kind of common tips and tricks to help you stay safe, and then wrap this all into how it makes you a better street rider.
So yeah, if you don't know, I have a lot of experience on the street, on the racetrack, whatever, and dirt stuff is not exactly my specialty. I've spent very little time in the dirt, so I'm putting my faith in our dirt aficionado here, Ryan, that he won't do me dirty, see what I did there, and he'll actually get me up to speed on how to ride in the dirt a little bit better than I have been before.
Don't worry about it. You're definitely going to get put through your paces on this one. But before we get into that, we need to take a look at what the whole range of off-road motorcycles, has to offer, because it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. So these are what you think of when you think of a dirt bike. Basically, this is the natural silhouette, right? But what we've got here are totally purebred race machines. We've got the YZ450F and the YZ250 over there, the two-stroke. These are really going to be the tip of the spear when it comes to performance off-road riding. You're not going to see any gauges, lights, anything like this. You got long travel suspension, super potent engine. We've got the two-stroke over here, four-stroke here. These are really meant to be the highest performing bikes in Yamaha's lineup.
So to clarify what we mean by two-stroke and four-stroke, the strokes refer to how many times the piston has to go up and down to complete the combustion cycle. The YZ450 is a four-stroke, the YZ250 is a two-stroke, and in broad terms, that basically means this two-stroke can make roughly the same amount of power as this four-stroke, but with half the engine size. That's obviously a good thing, right? So the two strokes are lighter, have power to weight ratio that's better than a four stroke. But the four stroke, you got a broader torque curve. Some would say they're easier to ride because of that, and they're more efficient too.
And two strokes are still massively popular when we're talking about like off-road racing, hard enduro, stuff like that. But they are seeing a little bit of a resurgence in motocross. Obviously, we have the 250 here. And yeah, they're just all around super fun bikes. But unless you have access to a motocross track, this probably isn't the best place to start. So, very similar to the motocross bikes we were just talking about, the YZ250FX is basically built on those things. And this is the cross-country or enduro package of motorcycling. Basically, these are more for off-road racing. We're not talking tracks, we're talking about long desert rides, more enduro type riding where you're out in the hills, maybe you're with your friends, maybe you're racing off-road. A little bit different, but somewhat similar.
Yeah, so what are the differences between something like this and an actual motocross bike?
Yeah, so really it's gonna be, the biggest thing is gonna be the suspension damping. So the suspension characteristics a little bit softer to be a little more comfortable for hard hits off-road. You've also got a bigger 18-inch rear wheel. And then some specific mapping, tuning for the engine, but otherwise the frame, the engine architecture, everything like that is basically the same as the motocross bikes.
All right, so Ryan, so far all the bikes we've looked at are kind of for people who are at least a half decent rider. I don't think a noob like me is gonna go to like a motocross track and do gnarly jumps or some crazy gnarly trail. So then what?
Yeah, so this is definitely a better place to start. With the TTR 230, this is like the trail category. So this is, you got an air-cooled engine, super modest, simple machine. This is a bike that plenty of people have learned on, grew up to be expert racers, kids, teenagers, expert journalists, yeah, something like that. But yeah, so these are basically the learner bikes, get out, do whatever, nothing real serious here.
And then, if you just want to goof off and have a good time, this is probably a good place to do it on?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are flat track schools that use these to mess around on. These are for fun, not trophies. So this is where things get interesting. And honestly, it's probably one of my favorite styles of motorcycles. These are dual sport motorcycles. So you see the turn signals, mirrors, everything you need to be street legal. So there are plenty of bikes like this that are pretty spicy. Nope, I wouldn't want to put you on one of those. This is not that. This is a perfect bike for you, the TW200.
I mean, like compared to the other bikes we've seen so far, like this clearly does not look nearly as aggressive as those other bikes.
The basic idea behind something like this, again, it's similar to the TTR 230 in that you've got an air-cooled engine, soft suspension, kind of a wide seat compared to some of the other dirt bikes we've been looking at. And the basic idea here is that you can take it, you can put it in your truck it out to the trails, ride it out to the trails, or just use it to connect trails.
What you're saying is this is probably the perfect starter bike for me.
I think that's probably a good idea. So, a bit bigger than what we've been looking at so far, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
This is an adventure motorcycle. Specifically, we've got the Yamaha Tenere 700. These are basically the SUVs of the motorcycling world. Whether you want to go on a cross-country trip, blast down a fire road, this can kind of do a mix of all of that. And obviously, size matters, right? So if you're gonna push these things off-road, you can get them in smaller packages, you can get them in middleweight packages, and you can get just massive mile crunching bikes.
So this is kind of the difference between can go anywhere and do everything versus wanting to go anywhere and do everything.
Exactly. I mean, what you've got here is basically we've got the lightweight adventure category, which is like 300 to 500 cc's, and then you've got the middleweight adventure category where the Tenere lies, and that's kind of like 500 to 900. There's a huge gap there. And then after that, you get into the heavyweight bikes that are not only heavyweights because they physically weigh a lot, but they're also open class in terms of engine displacement. So we're talking like 1300 cc's and above. Honestly, like I said, there's so many bikes now in the middleweight adventure category that there are a lot of options to choose from, but the Tenere is a super solid option if you really want to push yourself off-road. This bike's set up with a 21-inch front wheel, 18-inch rear, which is the same we saw on the cross-country dirt bikes. So it's really meant to have the long travel suspension. The 689cc parallel twin engine is also super punchy. So it just makes riding off-road, lofting the front wheel. Again, this is more of an advanced kind of thing, but you've got ride modes, you've got cruise control. There's a lot going on with this bike to make it really well-rounded.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to see what someone can do on one of these things, look up Paul Torres, and that guy's a beast on one of these bikes.
Yeah, just give it a little bit of time and some practice. That could be you. That does it for our overview of all of the off-road options out here on the market. Troy, what do you think you're going to take for this little foray into the dirt?
You know, that 450 looks awfully inviting, and I'm kidding, of course, because that would be suicide. I think for me and my meager skill levels, this TW200 is it.
That's kind of, for me, that's what riding off-road's all about. It's getting out, pushing yourself, overcoming obstacles. When you do that with a good group of guys, or girls, you can have a good time. It's really about building that camaraderie, and nothing does it like getting off-road and challenging yourself. You're gonna fall down, you're gonna get dirty, you're gonna sweat. It's a challenge, but the juice is worth the squeeze.
You know, I'm looking forward a lot to screaming and swearing at you during this whole
Perfect.
thing, but that also emphasizes the fact that I'm gonna fall down a lot. I am gonna crash. I don't wanna get hurt, right? So that's the importance of gear, which is a good segue into the next episode of our New Riders Hub series, where we will talk exactly about that sort of thing. Gear, what to wear, what options are out there, and just how to protect yourself from head to toe. So, if you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next episode.